What if the worst thing that ever happened to you was actually the best thing that could have ever happened to your future? When you find out that the person you loved and trusted has cheated on you, it feels like your entire world has exploded into a million pieces. The pain is heavy, the anger is real, and the confusion can keep you awake for weeks. Your mind starts asking painful questions, wondering what you did wrong or why you were not good enough to keep them loyal. But if we take a step back and look at human behavior through the lens of psychology, we discover a hidden truth that most people miss because they are too blinded by tears. Betrayal is often a very harsh, uninvited wake-up call from reality. It is a moment where the universe completely forces a broken, low-value situation out of your life because you were too comfortable or too blind to leave it on your own. Being cheated on strips away all the fake promises, all the illusions, and all the wasted time, leaving you standing face to face with the true character of the person you were sharing your life with. Today, we are going to explore why this devastating experience can actually become a massive blessing in disguise. We will look at how betrayal acts as a giant spotlight on hidden relationship problems, why it breaks down a false sense of security, and how this deep emotional shock can become the exact fuel a person needs to build a much stronger, wiser, and more respected version of themselves. Most people move through relationships on instinct, reacting, assuming, repeating, but a few choose something different. If you're the kind of person who questions patterns instead of blindly following them, who wants clarity instead of confusion, awareness instead of reaction, then you're exactly where you need to be. This isn't about taking sides. It's about seeing things for what they are, without distortion, without ego. If that mindset speaks to you, subscribe and stay connected. Add your perspective in the comments. The conversation matters here. Background work. No narratives. Just deeper understanding and better decisions. To understand why betrayal can turn into a hidden gift, we must first look at a common behavioral trend called the comfort trap. In many long-term partnerships, individuals slowly stop paying attention to reality because they are used to a daily routine. They notice small behavioral shifts in their partner, like a phone being placed face down on the table, a sudden change in working hours, or a cold tone of voice during conversations. However, instead of addressing these patterns, the human mind has a natural tendency to create excuses. We tell ourselves that our partner is just tired from work, or that we are being paranoid. Psychological studies show that people often choose a peaceful lie over a painful truth because they want to avoid the discomfort of a breakup. When a person cheats, they make a conscious choice to break the bond behind your back. While this action is deeply disrespectful, it does something that you could not do for yourself. It shatters the comfort trap completely. It removes your ability to make excuses. The hidden behavior is suddenly out in the open, and you are forced to see the relationship exactly as it is, not how you hoped it would be. Another major psychological shift that happens after betrayal is the immediate return of your independent value. When you spend years investing your emotions, your time, and your money into another person, your personal identity can slowly merge with theirs. You start measuring your happiness, your success, and your daily peace based on how they treat you. If they are in a bad mood, your whole day is ruined. If they ignore you, you feel worthless. This emotional attachment can slowly turn into a weakness, where you tolerate disrespect just to keep the connection alive. But when the truth of cheating comes to light, the emotional contract is instantly broken. The shock of the betrayal forces your mind to disconnect from the partner who hurt you. It causes a sharp, painful awakening where you realize that you cannot rely on someone else to maintain your self-worth. In that very moment, your focus has no choice but to shift back onto yourself. You start remembering who you were before you met them, and you begin the vital process of rebuilding your own boundaries. Let us look at a realistic story involving a man named David to see how these relationship dynamics look in everyday life. David was a very hardworking and gentle partner who was in a relationship with a woman named Sarah for 3 years. David cared deeply about Sarah and wanted to build a beautiful future with her. So he did everything he could to make her comfortable. He paid for most of their expenses, helped her with her career goals, and always put his own hobbies on hold whenever she wanted attention. However, over time, David began to notice a pattern of coldness in Sarah. She stopped asking about his day. She became very secretive with her text messages, and she frequently criticized his personality in a very mean way. Whenever David tried to talk about these changes, Sarah would turn things around, telling him that he was being insecure and needy. Because David was terrified of losing the relationship and being alone, he accepted her excuses and blamed himself. He tried even harder to please her, ignoring his own gut feelings and allowing his self-respect to slide lower and lower. One evening, David accidentally saw a series of romantic messages on Sarah's tablet from another man, proving that she had been cheating on him for several months. When he confronted her, Sarah did not show any real remorse. Instead, she packed her things and left the apartment. In the beginning, David felt completely destroyed. He blamed himself for not seeing the signs earlier, and he fell into a deep state of sadness. He made the common mistake of looking backward, wishing he could fix a connection that was already dead. By refusing to accept that Sarah's actions were a reflection of her own character flaws, David spent months trapped in confusion, prolonging his own suffering and putting his entire life on hold. Have you ever found yourself making endless excuses for a partner's cold behavior, only to find out later that your gut feeling was completely right? I invite you to share your experiences and thoughts about this in the comments section below. When we break down what happened in David's situation, we can see a clear behavioral trend that affects many individuals who face betrayal. The real tragedy in David's story was not the moment Sarah left. The real damage happened during the months when David allowed his personal boundaries to be crossed just to keep a fake peace. When you tolerate consistent coldness and disrespect, you are telling your subconscious mind that you do not deserve to be valued. Cheating is a terrible experience, but it has a unique psychological power to act as a permanent boundary line. It creates a situation that is too big to ignore. It forces you to realize that trying to save a relationship with someone who does not respect you is a waste of your valuable life force. Behavioral psychology shows us that a person who truly values you will protect your heart, even when you are not in the room. If they choose to step outside the relationship, they have given you the clearest answer possible about their level of commitment. Accepting this truth is incredibly painful, but it is the exact moment where your true healing begins. It allows you to stop spending your energy on a broken foundation and start investing that energy back into your own mental strength, your physical health, and your long-term goals. When you stop asking why this happened to you and start asking what this experience is trying to teach you, you reclaim your personal power. You begin to understand that a partner's decision to cheat is a reflection of their own internal flaws and lack of discipline, not a measure of your worth. Now, we must examine the remaining behavioral patterns that reveal how this deep emotional shock can be transformed into a massive tool for personal growth. We will look at how betrayal forces you to upgrade your standards, how it tests your emotional resilience, and how walking away with absolute self-respect sets a completely new standard for how people must treat you in the future. In relationship psychology, there is a powerful reality known as the standard upgrade. When you enter a relationship with low standards or a fear of being abandoned, you naturally tend to accept breadcrumbs of affection. You tolerate small instances of disrespect, late-night cancellations, and emotional distance because you are trying to keep the peace. But the intense pain of being cheated on changes your tolerance level forever. It acts as an emotional baseline. Once you have survived the worst form of relationship betrayal, your mind develops a natural intolerance for games, lies, and mixed signals. You stop trying to convince people to choose you. Behavioral trends show that individuals who successfully heal from betrayal become highly selective. They no longer choose partners based on superficial charm or empty words. Instead, they observe a person's daily habits, consistency, and moral character over a long period before giving away their trust. If this is hitting, it's because you're not here for noise. You're here to understand. Most people react. Few people step back and actually think. This space is for those who question before they conclude and look deeper instead of louder. If that's how you move, subscribe and stay tapped in. Drop your perspective below. That's where the real conversations happen. Clarity over confusion. Awareness over assumption. Now let's go deeper. To fully comprehend the long-term benefits of moving past betrayal, we must explore a concept called the illusion of ownership. Many people subconsciously believe that if they are kind, wealthy, or attractive enough, they can guarantee a partner's loyalty. This is a psychological error. You can never truly own another human being's choices or control their moral compass. When a partner cheats, it violently strips away this illusion of control. While this realization can feel terrifying at first, it is actually the ultimate form of emotional freedom. It teaches you that your primary responsibility is to protect your own peace, your own boundaries, and your own dignity. It frees you from the heavy burden of constantly checking their phone, worrying about who they are talking to, or trying to manage their behavior. You learn to let people do whatever they want to do so you can see what they would rather do. This shift in mindset allows you to live with total confidence, knowing that if someone chooses to walk away or break your trust, you possess the internal strength to handle it and keep moving forward. Let us look at a realistic story of transformation involving a man named Robert to understand how choosing clarity can completely change the direction of your life. Robert was married to a woman named Lisa for 4 years. Robert was a very passive partner who always avoided confrontation, believing that staying silent during arguments was the best way to keep his marriage alive. Over time, Lisa began to lose respect for Robert's lack of boundaries. She started spending hours on her phone, going out late with new groups of friends, and treating Robert's kindness as a weakness. Robert noticed all of these warning signs, but his fear of conflict caused him to remain silent. One day, Robert discovered clear evidence that Lisa was having a secret relationship with a coworker. Instead of shouting, begging her to stay, or falling into a state of despair, something inside Robert clicked. He looked at Lisa calmly, realized that her actions had completely disqualified her from being in his life, and filed for a peaceful divorce immediately. Robert refused to play the victim. He used the shock of the betrayal as fuel to completely rewrite his life script. He went back to the gym, changed his diet, put his full focus into his business, and spent time studying human behavior and psychology. Within a single year, Robert transformed his physical health, doubled his income, and developed an unshakable sense of self-respect. By having the courage to let go of a toxic marriage, he realized that Lisa's cheating was actually a massive blessing. It was the exact emotional earthquake he needed to wake up, build strong boundaries, and become the most powerful version of himself. How do you view the concept of using a painful betrayal as the exact motivation you need to upgrade your life, health, and career? Think about your own path and leave your thoughts below. When you reach this advanced level of psychological awareness, you no longer view the end of a relationship as an absolute failure. You begin to see it as a necessary filter that removes individuals who do not possess the capacity for loyalty, honesty, and deep respect. You cannot build a high-value future with a low-value partner who values temporary distractions over long-term building. By recognizing these behavioral patterns early and accepting the harsh truth of betrayal without making excuses, you save yourself from decades of silent resentment and wasted potential. You give yourself the ultimate gift, the opportunity to live in total alignment with reality, surrounded only by people who earn their place in your life through consistent, respectful, and honorable behavior. Making it to this point says more than you think. Most people skim the surface. They hear just enough to react, but not enough to understand. You stayed, which means you're willing to sit with ideas, to question patterns, and to see things more clearly than most. That's where real growth begins. If this perspective gave you something to think about, stay connected. Subscribe, and be part of a space where we don't rush to judge. We learn to understand. Leave your thoughts below, not to argue, but to add depth to the conversation. Keep sharpening your awareness. I'll meet you in the next one.